All right, guys, welcome to week number 6 of the stay-at-home math stuff. We're still focusing on trigonometry, and today we're going to be trying to use these trig ratios that you guys learned about at the end of last week to help find some missing sides. So I want to do just a quick review of the 3 trig ratios we talked about last week. We talked about sine being opposite over hypotenuse. We talked about cosine being adjacent over hypotenuse. We talked about tan being opposite over adjacent. So the little saying that I use to really remember it is SOHCAHTOA. Sine is opposite over hypotenuse. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, and tangent is opposite over adjacent. So what I want to do is I just want to go through 3 problems with you guys in which you just have to find the ratio of sine. So we are trying to find the sine of x. We are focused on the x value. And what we need to do is we need to identify what my opposite side is, what my hypotenuse is, and what my adjacent side is. The hypotenuse is always the easiest one to find because it's always across from the right angle. So this side is your hypotenuse. Your opposite side is across from the angle that we're looking for. So in this case, 35 is your opposite side. The adjacent side is the other one that is touching the angle that we're looking for, which is A, which is 12 in this case. So hypotenuse is always touching the angle that we're going to be looking for, and the adjacent side is always going to be touching the angle that we're looking for. So in this case, we're trying to find the sine of x, which is going to be the opposite over hypotenuse. So in this case, the opposite is 35 over the hypotenuse, which is 37. So in this case, we want to do the same thing. We want to identify what the opposite side, the adjacent side, and the hypotenuse is. In this case, we're looking at angle A. Hypotenuse is across from the right angle. So this is your hypotenuse, 45. The opposite side is across from the angle that we're looking for. So this is opposite. And then this side is your adjacent side. We are looking at the tan of A. So that means we're looking at the opposite over adjacent. In a couple seconds, you guys will be asked to answer a couple questions. All I'm looking for is you guys to tell me what the fraction is. So the opposite is 36 over 27. And that is your ratio. That is the ratio I'm looking for. So in a second, you guys would put that as your answer. Okay, so in this case, we're looking for the cosine. Cosine is adjacent over hypotenuse, the ratio between those two sides. All right, so 17 is your hypotenuse. We are looking at z, which is right here. So that means that across is your opposite. So this is your opposite side. And then that means 8 is your adjacent side. So in this case, we're going to be dealing with 8 over 17. That is your ratio. So you're going to be asked to answer a couple questions. Try those for me, and I will get back to you. Okay, so you guys just found out some ratios for me. And now what I want to do is each angle, if I take a tan, a cosine, a sine of that numerical value, I will get a certain number that's associated with it. So I want to look at the tan of 64. So I'm going to go to a website called desmos.com/scientific. And I'm going to put this into my calculator. So I'm going to press tan, and then I'm going to press 64. So the numerical value for the tan of 64 is 2.05. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to write that right here and say that that is 2.05. Okay? So next, we're going to look at the cosine of 42. And now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to press the cosine, and I'm going to clear all, cosine of 72, which means the numerical value is 0.31. And then the last one that we're going to be worried about is the sine of 89. So I am going in my calculator, and I'm going to just press sine of 89, and I get a numerical value of 0.999. I know that's the numerical value is 0.999. Okay. All right. So now I'm going to ask you guys to try a couple of these and put the answers into the Edpuzzle. Okay. So let's put it all together. So in this case, guys, I have one angle measure that's 33. Okay. I have a side of 15 and a side of x, and I want to find out what x is. Okay. So I'm looking at the 33, and I'm going to DTR, define the relationship that 15 has with 33. Well, no matter what, this is always going to be your hypotenuse. If I look at the x compared to 33, this side is your opposite side. So if you guys remember, we talked about three ratios: sine, cosine, and tangent. So, all right, so which one has O and H? That would be sine. So I'm going to set up a sine ratio, saying the sine of the angle measure, which in this case is 33, is going to equal the opposite over the hypotenuse. So in this case, it's going to be x over 15. Okay, so what we're going to do is use my handy dandy calculator to find out what the sine of 33 is. I'm going to press sine of 33, and I get a numerical value of 0.545. So what I'm going to say is 0.545 is going to equal x over 15. So I just used the calculator to find out what this numerical value is, which turned out to be 0.545. And I'm going to try to solve this. So that 0.545 is over 1. If you guys remember, we talked about solving proportions a long time ago, and we just use cross multiplication to solve it. I'm going to take 15 times 0.545, and that is going to equal my side. So I'm going to take the sine of 33 and just multiply it by 15. So that side is going to be 8.17. Or, because we're asked to round to the nearest tenth, we're going to say it's going to be 8.2. That is what the missing side is. 8.2. Okay? All right, let's look at another example here. All right, so I have 15 degrees, which is right here. Okay? And I DTR the relationship between 17 and 15. This is opposite. And then x is your hypotenuse because it's across from the right angle. So if you guys remember, all right, so it looks like we're going to be using sine. So sine of the 15 is going to be equal whatever the opposite over the hypotenuse is. So it's going to be 17 over x. So if you guys remember, the first thing that we're going to do is find out what the sine is. So we're going to press sine of 15. It looks like it's 0.258. We're going to say 0.258 is going to equal 17 over x. We're going to put 0.258 over 1, and then we're going to cross multiply. 1 times 17 is just 17. X times 0.258 is 0.258x. And then what we're going to do to solve for x is we're just going to divide both sides by 2.258. And we will find out what x equals. So we're going to take 17 and divide it by 0.258. And we get a side measure of 65.9. 65.9. That's how long this side is. Okay. All right, one more, then I got a couple examples for you guys to try. Okay, so we're looking at 39, and I define the relationship between x. Well, that's going to be your hypotenuse because it's across from the right angle. And then this side would have to be your adjacent side. So which one deals with adjacent hypotenuse? It is cosine. So we're going to say cosine of 39 equals your adjacent over hypotenuse. So that's going to be 15 over x. So we're going to do cosine of 39, and we get 0.777. 0.777 equals 15 over x. Cross multiply, we'll get x times 0.777 equals 15. Then we're just going to divide everything by 0.77. And when you do that, you guys get x to be 19.3. All right, so I'm going to ask you guys to use this to help with the next couple problems.